Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Okay, ma'am.
Shashwat. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible. I'm stop sharing my screen. Ma'am, you can start the session whenever you find convenient.
Sure. Has everyone joined or do we wait or?
Yes, ma'am. They must be joining and they must be coming up. So we can start the session now.
Okay. So good morning. One second. Yeah. So good morning, everyone. I'm Pavitra. I'm an advocate about 10 years experience practicing solely in the area of intellectual property. I work for this boutique IP firm, Anand and Anand at Chennai. I'm its managing associate. I've worked in previous law firms in their intellectual property department. So, whole of my practice is largely into the area of IP. And thank you, Shashwat, for this opportunity. It's a productive start to the weekend. So, I'll just start sharing my screen.
Yeah, it's visible now, ma'am.
So I'm just muting my video for a better audio quality. So just feel free to stop in case of any comments or clarifications. It's interesting if it's more of an interactive session rather than keeping the questions to the end. Yeah. So. So today I'm going to be covering the various facets of intellectual property as a business, what all intellectual property there is a scope for a business, a prospective business to, discover or own, and the various why you should protect intellectual property, why the importance to the intellectual property and the different kinds. So basically, these are the different types of intellectual property. When you're a business, you start a business tomorrow, you'll have a trademarks. Definitely, you'll have something called a brand, which needs to be protected as a trademark. Next is your products. You may be a tech-based company, or you may be a product-based company. There must be some novelty in your product, either in the innovation part or in the looks part. So that comes under the patent. Then, of course, the designs. If you say, for example, there are a lot of medtech startups these days post the pandemic. So if you're inventing a medical device, there must be some innovation in the medical device. Apart from that, the medical device must be possibly smart looking, portable compared to the traditional devices. So that may come under the designs category. And of course, the copyright, not only the arts, book, music, even your business brochures, pamphlets, your database, which you prepare, all are eligible for protection under copyright. Geographical indications I'll be shortly dealing with. It's more of an academic purpose. And of course, lastly, the trade secrets, confidential information, which are again the IPs of several businesses. And lastly, the domain name. So as a business, you'll be having most of these aspects tomorrow. I'm just going to let you know how these kinds of IP can be protected. So first thing, what is an IP? So from this, you can easily understand whatever you create, something, some product of your mind, some product of your creativity, it becomes a proprietary product and which is capable of protection as IP. So the first one is trademarks. So a brand is very important for any business, not only for a FMCG business or someone who's into product or something, even for a product-based or a tech-based company, because the brand is a face of any organization. To give you an example, a company, this beverage company, which owns the brand Corona, crashed when the pandemic started, merely because they haven't coincidentally an identical brand name. Similarly, I think there was a virus which came about 5-6 years ago, and there was a car, I think Suzuki is a car brand or some brand which had an identical name, and the sales of such brand dropped. So the company may be very big, huge, but a company is known with a brand. So a brand is something very, very important for any business. So in addition to giving importance to your other facets of IP, like say filing a patent, filing a design, or protecting your domain name, it is very, very essential you give importance to your brand as well. So this is the one. You go to a supermarket, you buy your products based solely on the brand. And just like I said, it's a phase of an organization. The Colgate, I'm not very sure of the company name when I first look at the Colgate brand, but something which comes to my mind is a brand which is Colgate. Similarly for all the other brands. So just ensure that you give time for conceiving a very good brand, protecting such brand, simultaneously with other protections such as patents and all that. So these are the types of trademark generally a business can invent. So I wanted to give importance on this because I'm looking at a lot of businesses. So they already sit with an external creator and they bring out a trademark or a brand, or they create a brand of their own. Then they come to the lawyers and say, tomorrow we are launching, big corporates, this is what they do. They say, tomorrow we are launching this brand, please urgently file this application for us today. But they don't do a check whether the trademark has already been applied for anyone else, or they don't do a check whether the trademark is distinctive. So what happens is tomorrow they have difficulties in obtaining registration for their trademarks. There are a lot of disputes. At the end of the day, if they don't secure registration for their trademarks, they're not able to effectively enforce it. So the best practice would be is you're going to start a business, you have a brand in mind. First, go to a lawyer. So, or a trademark expert, you maybe it's better you have at least 3 to 4 trademarks or options in hand, and you go to a lawyer, you sit with a lawyer who will advise whether this trademark is available for adoption, and from a legal point of view, how effective it can be. So these are the different types of trademarks essentially. Generic trademarks. So you see car wash, it's a dictionary word. When you see it, you know it's for car washing services. Similarly, holiday in it's a descriptive trademark in the sense you know it's something related to accommodation services when that in term comes. Netflix, Flix and internet together, it's somewhat suggestive. Arbitrary and invented trademarks are those which have the highest value. So if you're a business, you must always look to first bring out an arbitrary or an invented trademark. For example, Apple is a common word, it's a dictionary word, but for technology services, for mobile services and all that, it's somewhat arbitrary. It has no connection. Similarly, the highest protection which is given is for the invented trademarks. So Zomato, Swiggy, Dunzo, Ola, these have no meaning at all. It's purely just brought about by the creation or the effect of one's creativity. So these are entitled to highest protection. So when you're a business, you're starting a business, you're looking to adopt a trademark. As far as possible, do an invented or at least an arbitrary trademark because it helps you in a very long way. So this is just examples of some generic trademarks which are very difficult to enforce. See, okay, for example, Power Soap, they have been using it for, I think, several decades. So they have some reputation or goodwill with them. So they may be able to enforce it. But just imagine you're starting a business, you adopt a trademark, something called a super or a power. And once you become little famous, there will be definitely copycats in the field. And then you go to court, the court is going to say, I'm not going to give you monopoly over words like power and super. So this is something which we should totally avoid. This is a descriptive trademark. Like, thick shake factories for shakes or naukris with regard to the job. It's also difficult to protect these kind of trademarks until you use them for a particular period of time and some goodwill has garnered for these. Next is the suggestive ones. So you know that Sundrop is for oil when you see it. So all these trademarks, they've been in use for several years and only solely based on that goodwill, they are able to protect and enforce their trademarks. But for a startup, for a business who has just come in, if you use such suggestive trademarks, one thing, it doesn't easily help for the consumers to associate it. They can't easily relate it to your business. And second thing, it is also a cumbersome process to enforce such trademarks. So this is the arbitrary trademarks. All these are dictionary words, like gap is a dictionary word, shell is a dictionary word. But if you see the services or goods applied, shell has nothing to do with petroleum or gap has nothing to do with, say, clothing. So as far as possible, we should try to adopt such kind of trademarks. Or the last one, the invented one, Kodak or Nika. So say if tomorrow someone uses Swiggy for textiles or Nika for jewelry, of course, Nika already does jewelry, say for an unrelated services or goods, they can't give any explanation as to how they also brought about Nika. The bad faith is evident, and then you easily get a court order and then you can easily enforce it. Even more than enforcing, even from the public point of view, when I have a unique trademark like this, the public easily associate me, they recognize me rather than having some generic terms. So this is the strength of a trademark. So like I said, the generic trademark has the lowest level of protection. The highest level of protection is for an invented trademark like, say, Santro, which has no dictionary meaning. So as far as possible, please go for an arbitrary and invented trademarks. Even if some money or expenses is going to be incurred on bringing about this brand or creating a brand, it is worthwhile because you're going to be using that brand. Maybe minor changes you will do now and then, but you're going to be using that brand possibly for decades. Coke. Coke has been, I don't know, for 200 years, probably they're using that brand. They're just making minor changes in the stylization. So since it's the phase of your organization, one-time investment, involve experts into it, help the experts handhold you, and it's better you bring about an arbitrary or an invented trademark. So next, what are the different, what are trademarks? So anything which, see, I look at a brand or I look at a logo, anything which tells me that this product belongs to a company can be a trademark. This KFC logo is there. The KFC word isn't written there. But when I look at the logo, I know it belongs to KFC. Similarly, the Ferrero Rocher chocolates, imagine that packaging Ferrero Rocher name wasn't on it. But when I see the gold foil in that round shape in a supermarket, I know that this possibly belongs to Ferrero Rocher. So even shapes and even packaging are eligible for a trademark protection. Yeah, the shape marks. So the Coke bottle is the best example. The 500 ml PET bottle, which has the grooves in the bottom. If there's no packaging cover also, I go to a supermarket, I see that bottle, I know that it belongs to Coke. So anything which indicates that the product or service belongs to this company can be deemed as a trademark. So even color combinations, we as a firm have enforced rights of John Deere in many litigations where third parties have used green and yellow. So, like green and yellow, the relevant section of public or someone who's well acquainted with the trademarks know that green and yellow as a trademark, as a source indicator belongs to John Deere. Similarly, dairy milk. Just imagine you go to a supermarket, you have a purple packaging. I think that again, they're using it for 100 years. A purple packaging of chocolates without dairy milk on it. Immediately, the first instance you associate it with dairy milk. So even color combinations are eligible for protection as trademark. Lastly, the sound marks. So what about this audio of Intel? But yeah, anyway, the Intel jingle or the Airtel jingle, the one which A.R. Rahman created recently. So any sound mark, the MGM roar. I'm not sure if this is audible. I'm just going to attempt. By any chance, is this audible? Anyway, yeah. So that was the colors music, the channel of the colors, the music of the colors channel, where every time the logo comes about, the music played. So we filed a trademark application seeking sound mark protection for this music. Similarly, like I said, the MGM roar, even without the particulars here, if the roar comes, you know that it belongs to the MGM Foundation. So this is more on an academic basis to get a better perspective of trademarks. So even these which take you back to the source are immediately associatable as trademarks. So smell marks also, the smell marks concept hasn't come out in India yet, but I think in US, there are some, say for clay products, which has a unique smell or a ball, which has a unique smell. So even these are protectable as trademarks. The last one is structures, architectural structures and store layouts. For example, there were many tourist agents who were misusing this 3D picture of Taj, which is the landmark unique architecture of India. So even these have been protected and registered as trademark. Last is the store layout. Yeah, so we filed application for seeking registration of this Health and Glow store layout. So there was in fact a movie in which, for example, the ICICI Bank layout was replicated. In the sense, there was a scene, I think Hindi movie, where the orange ICICI, the bank name was IBIA, and there was this orange elements all around the bank, and the bank was not shown in very good light. So we filed protection for the store layout or the bank layout or anything, and then we enforce it based on that rights. So this is also because Health and Glow, like that orange and purple, or orange and blue, it belongs to Health and Glow. So these are also eligible for trademark protections. Lastly, the celebrity trademarks. So you would have seen in the cities, most of the saloon have this, or rather 90% of the saloons have the celebrity images on them promoting their brand. So strictly speaking, that is not a legal thing. Even celebrity. So Hrithik Roshan has a brand registered in his name, and so has Virat Kohli. So when you use these images to promote your brand, people think in some manner possibly these celebrities and the brand are associated. So it should also be avoided. For example, so this is the registration certificate filed by Deepika Padukone to for registering her name as a trademark. Similarly, there was I think a Hindi movie which was sought to be released under the name Main Hoon Rajnikant, which had nothing to do with Rajnikant. So he filed a case and sought an injunction from using that title as a movie name. So this is again largely an academic value because only a small players use, unknowingly use the celebrity images to promote their brand. But I just want to know anything which has a reputation with them, and it cannot be misused. So even celebrities names and images should be avoided while promoting your brand. Next is domain name. Domain name is somewhat equivalent to a trademark. So you are you are creating a domain name tomorrow for your business. And as of now, we will find several trademarks such as Pepsi means, for example, or Yahoo, yahoo.co.in, you may, or even Google, you may find yaho.com, or Google spellings interchanged. And some people may think it actually belongs to Google. So then one can go to the court and seek an injunction or seek an order for transferring such domain names, because that again misleads the general public. So domain names are also an important part of IP. The next is the procedure for trademark filing. So the first procedure is not a mandatory procedure. As per the law, it is not mandatory that you search for your trademarks and then file it. But for a maximum protection or like for a proper due diligence, it is very essential you do the search. There are trademark agents and lawyers who do this search. You have a brand in mind, first go to them. They will search and check whether a third party has already applied it. If a third party has applied it, you have the option to change your brand or work around your brand, rather than not doing the due diligence, filing it, and then facing a problem. So first you do a search of the trademark, then you file the application. And then it's the examination stage where the trademarks office will examine your application. First, they see whether your application is not objected on the grounds of, say, that distinctiveness. I mentioned that it's better you avoid adopting generic and descriptive trademarks. So if your trademark is generic or descriptive, you get an objection from the trademarks office saying this is just it is not eligible for protection under the Trademarks Act. Similarly, if a third party has already applied for your trademark, then you again get an examination report saying, hey, this party has already applied for the trademark. You're not eligible to a similar protection. So this is why you do your search in step 1, so that you can avoid most of the objections in step 3. If you do your due diligence and file, there's a chance that the mark can directly go to acceptance. So once it's accepted, it's advertised in something called this Trademarks Journal, which is open to public for about 4 months. If anyone has an objection, they can oppose that trademark. If there are no objections, it proceeds to registration. So simple, this is the procedure. And your trademark is a perpetual right. The protection is perpetual in nature. For example, the patents or a design, it falls in public domain after a certain period. You cannot have monopoly for perpetually for lifetime. On the other hand, trademark protection is perpetual in nature, but however, every 10 years, you will have to renew it. So once you're registered, just diarize your records and in 10 years, make sure you renew it, because we are also seeing a lot of cases where once the trademark has been registered, people forget about it and they don't renew it. And then again, when they see copycats, then they come to us saying, I found this copycat, but I just realized that I haven't renewed my trademark. How do I go about? So it's better you engage experts for all these, so that these are properly structured and done in time. So this is the journal publication I was talking about. So once your trademark is accepted, it's published in a gazette, which is available to public, something like this. So say you're adopting Swiggy for textiles. Possibly, everyone who have filed a trademark here will know that there's something called a classification. A trademark is examined based on such classification. For example, you are filing a trademark for textiles. The trademarks office will examine your trademark only in the textile class. So say someone says, oh, hey, Swiggy is into restaurant services or delivery services. So let me do Swiggy for textile. So maybe Swiggy hasn't filed for in the textile class, and maybe your trademark maybe get accepted by the trademarks office. But then it is accepted and published in a gazette like this, where it is open for third parties. So let me tell you, there are many law firms maintaining a software which intimates conflicting marks immediately. So there's a software for this, there's a team for this, there are particular lawyers for this. So in such a Swiggy scenario, there's a high likelihood that your publication will go to Swiggy or their lawyer. Just an example of the brand. So there is a high possibility it may go to the lawyer. Then there is a 4 months option of opposing if anyone from the public has a objection, one can oppose it. So merely because Swiggy hasn't filed or the brand owner hasn't filed in that particular class, it doesn't mean you can file in that class. There's a high likelihood you'll get an opposition from that party itself, and then it leads to a lot of pleadings, evidences, hearings. So that's why you should do that due diligence, sit with an expert and conceive a good brand. And this is just an example of registration certificate, which is finally given. It's in digital form these days. Next, I'm going to the patents. So if you have any clarifications on trademarks, please feel free to stop. So what can be protected as a patent? So you are a product-based company. You have a product or you have a unique process. It's a new process and it's somewhat new over the existing process. There's something novel about the existing product or process over the traditional methods and product. And there's an inventive step. Like it should not be something very obvious. If there's something new about the product, and if there's some inventive step, you can go look at a patent filing. So the process of patent filing is somewhat similar to the trademarks thing as well in the terms of research. So you have some idea in mind. You don't need to, it's okay even if it's an initial idea. Go to a patent agent or a lawyer, have it searched, see what kind of inventions are already in public in relation to your product. If such similar inventions are there, you see how to improve upon your invention based on the prior invention already in market. So you analyze it, you assess it, see how you can work around the invention, how you can improve it from the previous one. Then only you go for a launch. And prior to this launch, something which I wanted to tell you is you will have to file for your trademark. So this is an example where Steve Jobs, I think it was something called the rubber band effect. He spoke about it prior to filing the patent for it. He spoke about it in a seminar. But he filed and he got protection, and there was a third party which was, I think, copying this rubber band effect. The third party brought to the patents office knowledge that prior to the filing of the patent, this was already published. The sense this was already discussed about in a public domain. Merely on that ground, the patent of Apple was revoked. So what I'm trying to say here is, if you have an idea in mind, even if it is a very basic idea, you search, you analyze, and you go ahead and file your patents. So there is this option of provisional filings. So I'm sure many of you here may have already deliberated this. In the interest of all, I'm just explaining this. So a provisional filing is just a 2-pager, 3-pager. You don't need detailed claims or a detailed drawings. Just a basic idea is what you need to have. So once you have something in mind, just sit with a lawyer, finalize it, go ahead and file something called a provisional filing. So once you do this provisional filing, you have 12 months. 12 months from the date of filing, you can conceptualize, you can develop whatever you want, you can do in that 12 months time, and then you can file a detailed patent. So see, in India, patents are first to file. So as far as trademark is concerned, it's first to use. Even if you haven't filed for a trademark, if you have already used a trademark, and if the subsequent party files for a trademark, the tribunals first assess who has used the trademark. But for patents, it's first to file. So you first file your patent. That way you get your priority date in filing. There is some protection. So only after you file, you can even pitch your idea to investors, for example. So before that, please do not make publications or make interviews or even pitch it to your investors. So even if it's an initial idea, go ahead and do a provisional filing. Then after you file, you can, of course, pitch it to your investors or discuss anywhere. And in that, you also have a 12 months gap where you can conceptualize your invention. So this is the most prudent method for a patent. Again, the patent prosecution chart and process, it's somewhat similar to a trademark filing. You file it, then you request for examination. In trademarks, it's automatically examined, but you request for examination and the patents office will examine it. And they have a worldwide database. So they have access to public literatures. So this is what is, once you, the trademarks office, the patents office, you file a patent application. They do their search in all these databases. They have access to global patent filings or scientific literature, news articles, etc. So they do this search and say if some third party has already discussed about your invention individually in their country, then that will form as a prior art. So the the patents office will issue an examination report on that ground. Similarly, if some third party has filed a patent application for a similar invention, the patents office brings about that objection also. So that is why it is essential in both the trademarks and patents, you do your due diligence from your side, you do this prior art search. You may do a prior art search individually online. There's Google patents and all that, but there are many patent agents and lawyers who have access to paid databases, which means they can do a more robust search and identify conflicts, which is easy for you in a very long term. So then if the objections are waived, the patent process, the patent moves to grant. Patent is comparatively a more complicated process compared to a trademarks or a designs. It can take anywhere, even up to 5 years for a patent to get granted. Next, I'm moving on to design. So what is a design? For what can you have a design protection? So design has nothing to do with the configuration of the product, nothing to do with the technicality of the product. To give you a very layman example, tomorrow I'm manufacturing bags, I'm selling bags. There's nothing unique about the bag where I can claim an IP for the bag. But say, for example, the bag is in an apple shape, for example, that is unique. So just for that shape, for that aesthetic look, I can seek protection. So these are some of the products. So we get a lot of queries for design protection for medical devices, the dentist devices, especially now like the portable, of course, the fever monitor. There are so many fever monitor devices that has come now after the pandemic, which are extremely portable, like They are literally like the size of a finger, and it can easily detect your temperature, and portable, small ones compared to the earlier traditional bulky devices. I'm seeing a lot these days. So if they are portable and more fancy compared to the earlier designs, then a design protection can be sought in that respect. So this is a design journal publication. So if you see the second one, uh, it's a water purifier. I think for a water purifier, the design is again fancy. So another example, in 2016 or 17, when the 3-burner stubs came, we filed this for, I think, BT appliances or something. So there's nothing unique about a stub, but this is purely for the aesthetic look and design. So if you have something, a device or something which is portable, which is nice, which is aesthetically looking, which is an improvement over the traditional devices, but there's nothing novel as such about the technicality or invention, you can look at a design protection. So next, I'm just going to copyrights. First, I'm going to talk, I mean, these are general copyrights available. Like you would have seen a million cases where the movie rights of one are being copied by another, the songs being copied by another. These are traditional copyright examples, but even from a business point of view, there are a lot of copyrights which vest with a business. For example, your brochures, like I said, even the contents of your website. So you create a website, you start writing contents for your website. I've seen cases where the third party, they just copy paste the contents alone. The website name will be different, the layout will be different, but if you see the contents, it will be identical. So those are also protectable under copyright. Similarly, your software. Say if you're a tech-based company, your source code is protected by a software. I'm not saying a functionality is being protected, not the technical aspect. The technical aspect comes under patents, but in India, it's difficult to get patents for a software. So most of these companies go for a copyright protection for the software. So from a business point of view, mostly this brochures, pamphlets, your logo, say your employees creating a logo, then in that trademark rights exist, but even a copyright right exists in that artistic work. Similarly, in anything which so in tech-based startups, mostly the software will be created by the employees, while the software will be in the name of the company. It's likely to be created by the employees or even the directors. So to protect the IP in the name of the company, what you need to do is you need to have a robust employment agreement. So I know that as a startup, or you will be recruiting several employees. So just make sure you have a robust or a employment agreement or an appointment letter. The appointment letter, even if it's an appointment letter, it's okay, but it should specifically state whatever proprietary technology, whatever IP is created by the employee during the course of employment, it belongs to the employer. Similarly, assignment deeds. If your employee helps in creating the logo or helps in creating the software, it is essential you take something called an assignment deed or a no objection from them saying they don't have any issues in the software or the copyright being registered in the employer's name. It is quite natural for the IP to be in the employer's name because the employer is giving all the resources, the employer is paying salary to the employee. So, and even as per Copyrights Act, when such a kind of arrangement is done, the IP is automatically in the name of the employer. But we have seen cases where the employee, after quitting, says that he created it in his free time and not during the course of employment, etc. So it is very essential you have agreements in place to protect your rights. So not only for a software copyright, any proprietary, even if your device is being developed by your employees or even directors, even partners, even top level management, it is fine. There should be an agreement in place which says that the IPs ultimately belong to the employer. So this is just a quick example of an anti-piracy action. So we have a software enforcement team itself, and we get information. Rather, the companies, software companies, the huge giants such as Adobe and Microsoft, they easily get notified if there's someone using a fake uh, software. I'm not talking about an individual who downloads, and that's another story altogether. But if you're running a small company, if 10 of them are using, say, a fake software such as an Adobe or a fake Microsoft just to save some money, uh, it is very easy that these giants become aware of that. So this is an example of an article where there was an anti-piracy action. The police had gone and seized those infringing or fake materials of Microsoft. So just to save some money, it is not advisable to have the fake or duplicate software. It is essential you deploy original software. So I just wanted to tell you the importance of these also, because strictly speaking, this is a criminal, act under the Copyright Act. So next is the GI. This is largely academic value, but it will definitely give you a better perspective on IP. So there are a lot of products which is associated with the territory. For example, Shimla apple, say the Sikkim tea. So these products, say a Scotch whiskey or a champagne, these products have that taste or quality because of the territory. The champagne has that quality because it is originally from Scotland or something. Other products cannot be called as a champagne. Even the Shimla apple, because of the weather and or the climatic conditions in Shimla, the apple there tastes very good. So I cannot have an apple locally grown and claim it as Shimla apple. Tirupati is a very well-known entity in the south, but whoever is aware of Tirupati will know about their Tirupati laddus. That kind of taste, you won't get it anywhere, basically. So Tirupati laddus are done only inside the temple, but not even in Tirupati, but they're done only inside the temple premises. So even someone in Tirupati, they can't sell laddus claiming that it was done inside the premises. So this is best example for that. There was this store in Chennai, a sweet store, which claimed that it was selling Tirupati laddus. It can sell any sweets, but the problem was it was misrepresenting it as Tirupati laddus. So we got a court order against them, and then it came about that only TTD, which is the Tirupati temple, can claim it to be Tirupati laddu and none else. So this is the GI aspect. So you can't, there are several products which is from that territory, and that quality and taste is solely attributable to that territory. It has a reputation and goodwill with that territory. So you can't produce some liquor tomorrow and claim it to be a Scotch whiskey or a champagne, because it's again due to the climatic conditions of Scotland and likewise. So this is what is GI is basically. So GI can't be registered or applied by individuals. It's largely done by a society for the collective welfare of the associations. Next, this is of course a very important slide to a business. To give you a very easily relatable example of trade secrets or confidential information is the Coke recipe. So the Coke recipe, they haven't protected it as patent, because patent, like I said, it's protectable as a monopoly right only for 20 years. You create an invention, only for 20 years you can exploit it as a patent. After 20 years, it falls into the public domain. Anyone can exploit it. But that's not the case with the trade secret or a confidential information. So strategically, as a business, Coke chose to protect their recipe as a trade secret rather than a patent. So to the best of my knowledge, they've been protecting this as a trade secret for 200 years now. Even the KFC recipe for that fried chicken. I'm being told that except the top management, even now, after several years, even now only the top management has access to that trade secret, the recipe. So if you think there's something very unique about your business, patent is something you can, as a startup, one will always look at the patent. There's no harm in that. But in the long term, one can also look at protecting it as merely a trade secret. So how do you protect it as trade secret? You protect it only via agreements, because in India, there is no specific law for confidential information and trade secrets. In US, you have, but in India, you don't have. So then you protect it by way of structured agreements. So you have a trade secret. Obviously, your employees, they need to know about that for their effective performance. The directors, founders will know about it. So then you all bind them something called a confidentiality agreement. You say that this is the confidentiality information of a company and they cannot disclose it unauthorizedly. Similarly, for your partners, service providers, say you're manufacturing something, you will engage third parties for your for solely manufacturing your product. Then you will affix your brand on it and sell. So you need to have agreements with the manufacturer who does it, saying they will not reveal your trade secrets or confidential information, and they will not reveal it to a third party. Otherwise, a competitor can go to them and they can do something similar for the competitor. Even for the employees, we have seen million cases where after once the employee quits the organization, they use the trade secrets, they use the confidential information. So your even for your simple database, such as your client list, your distributors list, your vendors list, all these are confidential information of a business. So imagine, we have seen million cases where the employees move out from the organization, they start their own organization, they solicit their former colleagues, they start a business, they use your confidential information such as the customer list, your distributor list, to their benefit. So this can be avoided only via agreement. So when you hire them in the appointment letter or the employment agreement, you specifically put that confidential information of their business, which is provided to them during the course of information, is not divulged at any point of time, even during the employment or even after the employment. So despite the agreement, if they end up divulging, if they end up using it for their personal benefit, then you can sue them. But without an agreement, you can't do anything. Say you don't have an appointment letter which talks about the confidentiality information clause or the IP clause. Tomorrow they misuse your IP or confidential information. You can't do anything about it unless it is covered by an agreement, because in India, there's no laws for these. So this is why an agreement is executed not only with your employees, but even with your partners. So when you start a business, it is very essential you take the help of a lawyer, just like how you take help of an auditor or a tax consultant. A lawyer is also important because he will do the complete hand-holding. We have worked with several startups where even on complimentary basis, initially it has been done. And then when the investment comes in, we charge for it. So we advise what all is essential for a startup. We identify the trademark protection, we identify the product base and whether it can go for a patent or a design protection. At the same time, we say that these agreements need to be in place if someone, so we do that audit and we can effectively protect a startup. So even if it is an extra resources and money, it is better you go to an expert for all these. So just a summary. So you are a product-based company, you have a product, try to protect it as a patent, or if it's a software, you try to protect it as a copyright. The shape or a look can be protected as a design or a shape trademark. The brand is a trademark. Your customer list, distributors list, vendors list, all these are your confidential information. Give access to it only to the required employees. Those employees should again be bound by an agreement. Similarly, the product literature such as your brochures, all that is protectable as a copyright. You don't need to file it as a copyright, but if someone misuses it, you can file a copyright suit, misuse suit against them. Finally, your domain name, your website can be protected as a domain name. So very briefly, I'm just going to talk what is the fuss about IP, why we should really give so much importance for this. So first thing is it's a defensive protection. You're at the outset, you're a startup, you don't want to get entangled into disputes. You have a business to run, you don't want to go into issues and courts and all that. So you give importance to your IP so that you don't step on others' IP and you don't infringe others' IP. And the one thing is retaining a competitive edge. Say, for example, in a suburb or someone where the knowledge is less, I start something called a OFC chicken with that logo and all that. People are bound to think that this belongs to KFC. So what happens is KFC is losing their market share. It's just as simple. So to retain your competitive edge, to claim your competitive market share, you have to make sure you are protecting your IP, give that importance. Finally, the monetization. So you know that there are a lot of saloons and restaurants which are running on a franchising model. Then you would see a lot of co-branding agreements where two brands come into and protect. For example, I'm just saying in the south here, I've always seen Wang's Kitchen, French Loaf, or like Reliance, and at least several years ago, there was this Java Green brand. Reliance and Java Green stores will always be together. That is a way that both the brands are promoting each other. And a good and a bad example, which I would like to give you, is the Kingfisher brand. So Kingfisher as a company went into insolvency and all that. But today, even the brand value of Kingfisher is several crores. In fact, when they were into several loans, Kingfisher managed to pledge their brand, not any of their assets or something. Their brand, intangible asset, they pledged it, and they were able to raise about 400 crores solely on the brand. So this is the brand value of the Kingfisher, even though the company has a very bad image. So just like I said, franchising, capital raising, and investors are going to come to you based on your IP. There's no rocket science about that. You're a startup. When you're looking for investment, what is your USP? Have you protected your IP? Have you filed your IP? Is what the first thing investors come. We have seen a million cases where the startups come just before the investment thing, saying the investor has stressed upon us protecting the IP. So you need to monetize, mainly for monetizing, and to retaining your competitive edge, you protect your IP. So this is how you protect your IP as a when you grow. Eventually, when you find copycats, you can send legal notices. There's also something called a customs recordal. You're an export-based company. You can register your brand on the customs. So if some infringing product comes in the same brand, you're immediately notified of it. So these are some of the enforcement tactics. So this, I just wanted to emphasize that we should not get into replicas. So if you see now, you can just go to the supermarket or anywhere, you would see most of the toilet cleaners are of blue and red shape, and this kind of shape and the color combination. Even the oil, hair oil, it's in the parachute blue color. I don't think blue color has anything to do with these things, but they just, to be honest and open, they just want to monetize on the goodwill and reputation of Harpic. So Reckitt Bensar, as far as I know, they have enforced their trademark a lot, but now the copycat is like immense. So it's completely into an other level that it has become diluted, and maybe nowadays they're not protecting it, but this is how it happens. Like, so we should ensure that these replicas are avoided. So lastly, I just wanted to also say, act on your rights, you find some copycat in the society, immediately just take action against them, because we have seen cases where people sleep. I wouldn't say sleep, it's due to a lot of internal reasons, maybe due to money or other resources. People don't take actions, they hesitate to take actions. Then after 5 years, it just spirals. Then they want to go to the court. The court dismisses such action, saying you have slept over your rights, you have acquiesced, there's delay in latches on your part, and hence you cannot move ahead. So basically, don't sleep over your rights. Although it is a little cumbersome process, both money wise and time wise, please do give immense protection to the IP and do whatever is necessary. So my last slide is how to protect IP. So IP protection is territorial in nature. So today you may want to sell only in India, but as a patent, say, or if you have some unique device or a product, you may want to protect it in US, China. Eventually, you may want to enter those markets as well, which means you will have to plan for protecting your IPs in that territories as well. So there are a million cases which say that, hey, I filed my trademark in India. Won't I get protection in China? If someone is copying it in China, won't I get protection? No, because trademark law is territorial in nature. IP law is territorial in nature. You need to go into each of the territories if you need to protect. So lastly, I'm not going to harbor much on the startup thing. I think the next session is largely for a startup, and yesterday the different types of entity, maybe the startup would have been covered. But I'm just going to talk about the benefits a startup has in terms of an IP. So if these are the conditions for a startup registration, if your company is less than 10 years from the date of incorporation, your annual turnover eventually is below 100 crores, register it as a startup. So the startup recognition was brought about by the Modi government several years ago, and this is the startup website where you can go, and it's a very simple process. If you have details in hand, you can obtain a startup certificate. So why do you register as a startup? That there are several benefits. For example, the winding up process is easy. You have a lot of rebates for IP applications, and the tax exemptions are there. So as far as IP application, so this is the startup certificate which you get upon registration. So as far as the rebates from IP point of view, if you're say a startup, your filing of patent fee is only 1,600, whereas if you're a big entity, it's 8,000. So if you can see, there's almost a 80% rebate if you have that startup certificate in hand. Similarly, for trademarks also, 4,500 and 9,000. There's a 50% discount if you're a startup, if you're registered under the Startup Act. And there's also an expedited timeline available for startups. Like I said, sometimes there's a patent grant can take up to 5 years. But if you're a startup, if you go under the startup route, there is a possibility that you can get a speedy patent grant as well. This is one of the examples where in barely 18 months, we got a patent grant, which is phenomenal, because even in overseas countries, it takes more time. So registration as a startup gives immense benefits. So if you are a startup, first register under it, then seek your rebate and file IPs. Go to a lawyer, auditor for your tax compliances and all that, for your lawyer for all your agreements. So this is how you go about. With this, I'm just ending my presentation, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to take. It looks like some questions have come. So I'll just start with the questions in the box. So what is the cost for filing a patent for product or process? So like I mentioned, the official fee for initial filing, if you are a startup, if you have that startup certificate, it's about 1,600. Then you have further, government fees to incur. But if you're talking about the attorney fee, it will take around 50,000 to a lakh maximum for your patent process, depending upon the complexity. and how much time it takes for approval of a patent. It can take anywhere up to 5 years. We have also seen cases where it's given in 2 to 3 years. And of course, if you have that startup certificate, it can be expedited. So yeah, please share your phone number and address. So I've shared my phone number. How to decide for a product as a startup that it needs which type of protection. So this is rightly the question which I meant briefed. So you have a product in hand, see if there's any novelty about the product, then go for a sit with a lawyer, analyze and see if it can be protected as a trademark or as a design or as a copyright, and even if it's a shape trademark. So you take the expert of help of an expert who will handhold you and advise you on that. If there are any more questions, I'm happy to take.
So excellent session, Pavitra ma'am, and I think all the aspects have been covered, and whatever the question, even the question and answer box, what have been posted, they were actually answered by you within the session itself. And if any further questions come to us, I will direct it to you, ma'am. So there is one more question, I think. What is the right time for a startup to start seeking protection? You are on mute, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. So from day one, I would say, I'm sure you'll have an idea in mind from day one. So at least for a brand, because you don't need to, of course, for a startup, for a product-based startup, you will have some initial ideas in mind as to how to go about on your invention or a product. But for a brand or for hiring people and for those aspects, you don't need to wait for anything. A brand is mandatory for your startup, no matter what. So from day one, I would say there are many people who help you in creation of a brand. So if you don't want an expert, if you're internally also creating it, just go to your lawyer or a trademark agent right away and seek expert on that aspect. And of course, you may be hiring employees from day one. So how to have you? I know there are many who takes agreements from the internet and then enforce it, but at least get it vetted by the lawyer. So I would say from day one, you start involving the experts for a robust protection. And I hope that answers. The previous query was, what is the procedure for provisional filing of idea? So nothing. So you have some basic idea in mind. You don't need a prototype or something. Like I said, a provisional filing just entails a 2-3 pager application. So you sit with a lawyer and give a brief description about your product, and immediately you can just file a basic question, basic application. Then, of course, you have the 1 year time to improve on your product. So the procedure is not at all complicated, to be very honest, for a provisional filing. If you have a basic idea, with that, you can go to a patent agent and have it filed.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And it was really a very, very knowledgeable session, and it will actually help all of our stakeholders, the innovators and entrepreneurs or the budding entrepreneurs, to actually understand at what stage, what kind of IPR they have to apply for, and what is the significance of applying for these certificates. Thank you so much, ma'am, for this knowledgeable session.
Thank you. Thank you. Please feel free to connect with Shashwat and pass on further queries even at a later point of time. Thank you, Shashwat.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So I take pleasure in introducing our next speaker, Dr. Namrata ma'am. And Dr. Namrata ma'am was earlier with us in earlier session regarding the how to pitch your ideas. So that was also a very, very uh, good session. And in continuation to that, today we are having a very good session with ma'am, and that will actually put a lot more insight into what is the role of incubator, what all kind of services an incubator gives you at the pre-incubation stage or the incubation stage, or if you are not joining any incubator, so what kind of services else you can support, you can get, and also the different kind of fundings available. So I'm welcoming Dr. Namrata from uh, bioincubation kit Bhubaneswar. That is actually an excellent incubation model. And why I said excellent, because in a private setup it has actually created a niche. There was a niche and it created a mark that how to run an incubator in a private space. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir, for again calling me back. I am always happy to interact with young entrepreneurs and taking their ideas forward. I would not speak today on KTBI. That's a long history how we started, and as Dr. Shashwat rightly pointed, that we have carved this niche in the startup ecosystem. It's been a decade we have been promoting entrepreneurs and nurturing innovators. But this is a session where I would speak about, in general, what is a TBI, because there's a lot of buzz about incubators, funding opportunities. And if you see my topic, there are two very important aspects, that is incubator. What is exactly an incubator? Because for young, naive entrepreneurs who are very new to the ecosystem, this kind of, there are so many incubators, to understand that what is the facility, what is this platform, what are the opportunities that an entrepreneur can leverage from such a platform. And second is funding opportunities. See, we might have a wonderful idea. We are, as just a previous session we had, how to safeguard our innovation for IPR filing. So there's, these all things are very, very essential when you are planning to take up your entrepreneurial journey. But for any of the activity, even to be incubated at an incubator, you need money. You have to pay the rental charge. If you have to file a patent, you need money. If you want to pursue your idea, again, you need funds to hire manpower, you need funds to buy equipments, you need funds to design the prototype. So incubator is essential. Even getting grant is equally important. So these two factors, these two ingredients, that is very, very essential for a successful entrepreneur, that we'll be discussing. Shasha sir, I hope my presentation is up on screen. It's visible, it's on full screen. Can you please prompt me?
Yes, ma'am, it's perfectly
Okay,
visible.
okay, yeah. Now, quickly taking forward. So what is a technology business incubator? I would want participants here to be very interactive. Take this session, let's make it not that only I'll speak and you people will hear. Let's make a discussion kind of thing. So anybody who want to answer this, what is a technology business incubator? Okay, so very briefly, if there are, I see a few academicians also in this platform. Now, we have heard about it. We use in incubator in our research activities. Basically, it's a system where microorganisms, they are basically cultured under controlled environmental conditions like pH, temperature, nutrients. This is simple, equipment which we use for a day-to-day research activities. Similarly, I find a very good synonym in this is that incubators is also a place where technology-driven ideas, they are nurtured under a proper environmental condition and a holistic ecosystem to make business. Now, my second question is then, what is business? So this is, as I said, about a TBI. So what is business? In simple way, you can say business is, if you want to define a business, it's money, one word. But for business, what exactly you need? You need a seller, to sell an idea, something which he has to sell, and a buyer who has money, who has funds to buy the product, and both have to come together. And is exactly what an incubator does. A technologist that have a, who could be a faculty scientist, a student who has a wonderful innovative idea, and an entrepreneur who want to take that technology forward in hand with the technical person, and an investor who has funds to support the entire exercise. So these three things are very essential, and incubator is a platform which provides you, which brings together all of them on a one common platform, which is very, very essential. So there's a very big misconception that many in my 6 years of incubation and entrepreneurial experience, that they think that young entrepreneurs who want to start their journey, that incubator just provides space. But let me tell you, beside co-working space, incubator provides a wide array of services to help startups and innovators, be it including access to instruments at a very nominal charge, funding support, access to strong pool of mentors, investors, and most importantly, the incubator helps to think through. Because when you talk, when in the interaction session, when in the mentoring session, the incubator team will ask you the right questions from the beginning, which will help you to think through different dimensions. Like, have you done the market search? Do you understand who are your competitors? Have you done the pricing of the products? Which usually remain ignored, because as a technologist or a person who has developed this idea, we become so obsessed with our own research, with our own idea, that we forget that yes, there are other, beside the technology, there is a business aspect also which we have to think through. And this is the most common reason for failure of startups. But an incubator, if you are a part of this incubator, then they will help you, the team, they will help you to think through, they will help you to monitor that whether you are in the right direction or not. They will handhold you. They will ensure that you are in sync with the timeline and you are on the right track. So that is the beauty of an incubator. It's not that an incubator just provide co-working space and it's up to your business now how to see that everything is moving perfect. No. The moment an entrepreneur is a part of an incubator, there's a responsibility, equal responsibility of the incubator as well as, of course, the entrepreneur who wants to pursue that particular idea. Both have ensures that yes, whatever is their dream, that is achieved. So that kind of responsibility an incubator takes. It's just not that we provide funding and then we leave up to you that you please continue your dreams, you continue your idea. If it fails, then it's your mistake. No, we equally take the responsibility. So always I say that TBI is not known because of the ecosystem. It's because of the people like you who join us in, who work with us hand in hand in your entrepreneurial journey. And that's what gives us the pleasure, that what gives us the deep satisfaction. So let's see again. So as I said, more than just space, it provides infinite opportunities to help startups. Now the question is, do you need funding? Basically, many people, they come in an incubation process, they say that we want to be a part of the incubator. I said, it's open. Any incubator, if you approach, they will definitely be happy to take you, to support you. But remember, if you have grant in hand, things become very easy to be a part of the ecosystem, because when you're part, you have to pay the incubation charge, or you have to, when you're using the equipments of the incubator, maybe at a very affordable price, at a very subsidized rate that we give it for entrepreneurs. But again, you have to have money to, to use those equipments, high-end sophisticated. We're not talking about the common general equipments, but high. So it's always whosoever I mentor entrepreneurs, I say that it's better that you get funding prima facie. That should be your target before being up, taking up space and being, because otherwise it's an additional pressure on you. So let's see that what are the various funding resources, and please remember, funding is not a problem. Every ministry, they have their different plethora of funding opportunities. It's just that you have to be aware of it. I visited to many places, universities across India. I've interacted. I've seen that almost 90% of the young researchers, faculties are not aware of the schemes that is available. There's only 100 of that community, scientific community, who understand this kind of system, this kind of opportunities are there, and we need to leverage it. So this is a platform. Please, I would be happy to share my slide, but kindly note it down, all these programs that I've been discussing. And let me tell you before I start that the minimum eligibility criteria is a graduation. If you are applying as an individual innovator, the minimum criteria is just a graduation. And if you have a startup, it should not be more than 5 years or 3 years old as per the funding program mandate. So innovative now, as you see, every ministry like BIRAC, DBT, TST, METE, they have different schemes. For example, BIRAC of DBT, they have funding schemes from 15 lakhs to 7 crores. Starting from proof of principle, that from your idea generation to prototype building to development of product and final to commercialization. So it's not that you get a prototype support and then there is no funding schemes. The government, every ministry, they have designed this kind of funding plethora, funding opportunity, so that an entrepreneur, it moves ahead in step by step in this journey, and you always get a support from Government of India. See, someday or the other, you will definitely have to pitch to the private investors. That's where you will have to, when you're in the early stage commercialization stage, you have to be ready for investment pitching. But before that, to be risk-free, is always better advisable to get support from the grant and aid from different ministries. So let's see one by one what are the schemes that is available. But again, as I said, that when you, for example, when you go to a market, you have so much of things, resources that is there, but you know what you are going to buy, what is your requirement. That is very important before you proceed for the shopping or for going to a market. Similarly, since there are many funding opportunities that is there today in the startup ecosystem, is very essential for you to understand at what stage you are now. What is your requirement, so that you can do that matchmaking. You can understand that which category, which scheme is best suitable for you. Otherwise, I've seen that many times the proposals doesn't get through only because of the scheme misfit. Because there is, maybe you are developing an idea which is best suited for X scheme, but unfortunately, since you're not aware of the X scheme, you apply for a Y scheme, which it doesn't fall within the mandate of the program. So that is where this, unfortunately, success doesn't happen. So it's very, very important to understand what is your requirement and then do a homework, a little bit homework, and understand the matchmaking of which grant, which funding agency is the best appropriate for you to go ahead. So what do you need? Do you need help in identifying a problem statement? Like, for example, young students, they come to me and they say that, ma'am, we are really interested in taking up entrepreneurship, but we need support in understanding that which idea should we work upon. Don't worry, there are schemes on it, which I'll be discussing. Second is mentorship, access to equipment. There are many, people who already they have freezed the idea, and then to take forward it, to bring the discovery from lab to market, they need mentorship, they need access to equipments. Some people they have already developed the proof of concept. They are in the prototype and the TRL level 3 and above, and now they need validation, connect to various hospitals for clinical trials, understanding the regulatory compliances that is required, very important. So again, that is there. Then the objective of industry stakeholder, because there are many grants where you can apply as a partnership in terms of industries, or a co-investment kind of commitment is required. So if you fall into that category, again, there are tons of other schemes that are available, connection to investors, and finally, if you need money for scaling up and for product launch. And the seventh is, which if I am asked, I'll say that I need support in all of these, all the above. So let's see one by one what are the schemes that are there. Now, first type is ideation. You need help in freezing the best idea. You need help in identifying the problem statement. And this is the type where young researchers who want to pursue entrepreneurship as a serious career option, they want to do something different, but they need assistance from experts in terms of picking up the best idea, which is actually technical, doable, and has a commercialization potential. Because it should not happen like that. You waste an year on an idea which is already been commercialized. You see tons of products that is there in the market. So finding a niche in that overcrowded market becomes difficult, or something, an idea where you don't see a good customer base. There are not much buyers to take up your product. So all these things are very, very essential when you're picking up an idea to continue to work on that. So let's see what are the schemes that is there. The best program to go ahead is, I would say, is the BIRAC flagship program called the Social Innovation Immersion Program, where Kitty BI is also the implementing partner. So remember, incubator, we have to again see when you are choosing an incubator, see what are the programs, what are the funding opportunities are they providing? Are they implementing partner of all the schemes, or they are implementing partner of a couple of schemes? This is very, very essential, because that helps, gives you an added advantage if your incubator is an implementing partner of different funding schemes that is there. So as I said about this program, this is in this program, what happens is that few social entrepreneurs, young, I would say young entrepreneurs, they're selected pan-India based on their interest to do something unique and that has a social relevance. So you don't need to have a prior idea for it. It's just about your entrepreneurial mindset that yes, you are really interested to pursue entrepreneurship, not as for the fellowship or some kind of engagement, and then you want to jump into a research. Not for those people who really want to see them as a successful entrepreneur, social entrepreneur in due course of time. Minimum eligibility criteria is graduation. I have seen many students after they pass their graduation or masters, even the BTech or MTech, they say that we don't have much of opportunities. I don't know, we don't get that much of jobs. But to say that all the incubators, university, they should make all this awareness program that see these are the opportunities that even a graduate can apply. And I'll show you a very brief example. Many graduates, they have got these fellowships and they have raised almost 1 crore of funding. So please be open-minded and see what are the things that is available for you. So this is the entire program structure. It's very interesting. What happened is that after a cohort of SIP fellows, they are selected. They do a 6 months of immersion program. They visit different rural communities, hospitals, market research, talk to different mentors, and who help them in identifying 5 to 6 ideas. And in this 6 months of journey immersion, there would be mentorship from BIRAC, there would be mentors from test center, Tata Institute of Social Science. You will be mentored by the incubator. So everybody will be with you in this 6 months to come up with their 5 best idea. And then in the end of 6 months, you pitch your best idea is selected by a committee. And then for the next 12 months, you will be working for or develop the prototype with a Kickstart grant of 5 lakhs, and the fellowship for the entire 18 months will be getting 50,000 per month. Just imagine 5 lakh Kickstart grant immediately after your idea is freezed, and the 50,000. And the beauty, the best thing is that there would be mentors who would pick up your idea. So you remain safe in identifying the idea, so that when you pitch for other funding, you can say that I had undertaken this program and my idea has been vetted by mentors, by technical business experts in this domain, that yes, this idea is the best to pursue further. So that kind of confirmation of confirmation you get from your mentor side, which help you to give you that kind of confidence that yes, I'm in the right direction. So as you can see, there are tons of social entrepreneurs who has gotten this grant, and they are all graduates. Shruti Babuji has just completed her BTech. She got this 50 of this SIF program, and thereafter she got BIG grant. So because since it's the initial level of funding from BIRAC, to move up to the next level becomes easy. You can show that yes, I got in a grant, I've developed some proof of concept. Now to take it further, I'm applying. So BIRAC government also have that kind of confidence that yes, you are in the right track. Similarly, if you see these young social entrepreneurs, they came up with the kind of enthusiasm, and now it is no looking back for them. One by one, step by step, they have raised funding and they have carved a niche in the startup ecosystem very, very strongly. Then there's a scheme, Sitare scheme of BIRAC. This is basically for students' innovations, the translation, advancement of research exploration. It's basically to promote young students for embracing translational research. There are 2 kinds of award, as you can see. Getty Award, where 15 awards, like 15 lakhs each. Then there's Sitare Appreciation Grant, where a cohort is taken and it's provided a kind of prize money, and you also get an opportunity to attend a workshop which will be mentored by a lot of experts and mentors and technical domain experts. So again, who can apply? MENT is for postgraduate and doctoral students who can use this 15 lakhs money to undertake something very translational research work. It is cannot be used for your doing your research or your PhD work. Please remember, any fellowship grant that you get for innovative grant, you cannot utilize it for your own PhD activities. It has to be used for a translational idea. Similarly, there's a EUVA scheme. You'll find all the details in the BIRAC website. Please take your time and go through it. You will find when I have also listed that when the call for applications open. So this is opening in January. It remains open for 30 days. No hard copy submissions required. It's just that you have to apply it online. And this is scheme is basically to encourage youth for undertaking innovative research through vibrant acceleration. It was previously known as a UIC scheme. There are 2 categories of fellowship. One is the innovation fellow, that's a postgraduate and above. Then there's a EUVA fellow, that's an undergraduate. So depending on that, if you are postdoctorate or PhD, then you get a fellowship of 50,000. If you are undergraduate, you get a fellowship of 30,000 and innovative grant of 2 lakhs. Duration is 18 months you'll be getting to work on a particular idea, and again 6 months can be extended if only for the special cases, for deserving cases. And you can work in 5 EUA centers. So there are 5 EUA centers. Similarly for SIP or SPERSH, there are 14 SPERSH centers where KTB is one of them. There are others SPERSH centers also. Similarly for this EUA, there are 5 EUA centers which will provide you the platform to get this grant and undertake the project. Likewise, there is one more fellowship program of Nidhi scheme by the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, to encourage graduating young students to pursue entrepreneurship. Like SIP, a Nidhi EIL fellow also gets a minimum of 10,000, 30,000 of fellowship per month for 12 months. Eligibility criteria, as I said, is a simple graduation. You don't need a PhD experience. You don't need a publication. All you need is a right mindset and interest to do something different, something innovative that has a social and economic impact. Selection process is very simple, is very transparent. You will fill the application online. There will be a selection committee. They will see that whether you match the eligibility criteria. Then if that is thing, you'll be called for a presentation. If you do well in the presentation, then it's this again a final presentation, and the entire process is like within 2 months, maybe, or 2 to 3 months, you'll get to know the result. And as your application proceeds, you'll be informed of the result. And it's just not that you apply if you are part of incubator. Incubator also will help you to frame your presentation, to tell you what are the important things that you need to keep in mind when you are pitching for any funding opportunities. And as in the last session I discussed about how do you write a grant, how do you pitch for a funding, but I will not discuss that again in this presentation. It's just for about giving an overview of different schemes. So trust areas, it's very broad. You have to choose an area that where your idea well fits in. It could be healthcare, agri-tech, food, nutrition, biotechnology, IoT. It could be any area, but the thing is that the only 2 important criteria that you have to keep in mind when you are applying for any grant that I'll be discussing, be it SIP, be it DDR, or any other forthcoming grants that I'll be discussing. 2 important aspects is innovation. There should be a novelty in your idea. Second is there should be commercialization potential. It should have a business potential, because when the funding agency is giving money to you, it's a tax money. They expect that you generate revenue and there's a money back to the system. It's not that you get the money and it's end up nowhere. So they always want that there should be a revenue generation, a business plan to understand that yes, with this money, you are able to bring more money to the ecosystem. So that kind of thing you have to keep in mind is innovation and commercialization potential. So there, as I said, there are a lot of people who has got this fellowship and they are doing wonderful in their entrepreneurial journey. As you can see, he has received 20 lakhs from Invent Fund. Many people have seen that they apply straight away for a larger ticket size money, and they all this throughout to come to that level. They use their own money. They do the bootstrapping. But I always say that it's not the right way. Since there are early stage grant fellowships available, why don't you avail it? Go one by one. Get the support. Develop something, so that you can also showcase that yes, I have been supported by this and this scheme earlier, and with this money, these are the deliverables and milestones that I have achieved. So that kind of credibility also you give to the next kind of grant panel that they would be seeing. So now, once your idea is freezed and you develop a proof of funds principle that yes, your idea is working. There is a kind of supporting evidence to show that whatever you're thinking, it's technically doable, it is feasible, it has a commercialization potential. Now you need money for prototype development. Let's see what are the schemes. So BIG, this is one of the most sought after grant for any life science innovator. So I always say that it's aptly called the big grant because yes, the money is big, 50 lakhs money for 18 months. And again, but beside that, you get a big kind of opportunities, that is, you get mentorship, free mentorship, you get the technical assistance, you get support in IP, you get support in product launch, you get support in technology commercialization, licensing, you get support in connecting to customers. So that kind of, you know, the add-ons that this program brings along with it. Who can apply? It is, again, it is open for all. If you're a student, if you have completed your PhD, looking for a job, looking for a kind of platform where you want to take forward your PhD research activities to a commercialization level, you can apply for it. If you are a scientist or a clinician or researchers, and you have some good supporting evidence from your laboratory, and you really want, you see a kind of commercialization potential in that particular project, you can apply. The best thing is that you can apply as a team. Please, students present, if you're present in this platform, talk to your mentors, form a team and go ahead, because team is something which is always given priority for any funding grant. They will see that how well-rounded the team is. When I say well-rounded, they should be experts both in technical and business. It should be a well-rounded with competing skill set. For example, if you're developing a device, you need to have a design engineer, you need to have a prototype person, you need to have a business person, so that because you, the funding agency also will have a kind of confidence that yes, the team is not only scientifically strong, they have the business acumen who can take forward the idea to the market. So generally, I have seen majority of these projects, the team is where they fall short of, because they don't give much importance to a team. If you are generally, it happens with the researchers, if they only put the names of their own departmental researchers whom they know, but that should not be the way. It's kind of interinstitutional collaboration. Talk to and people mentors who are actually in the ecosystem, talk to them if they could be an advisor to your project, and that gives, because team carries maximum mark. I would say 30 to 40% carries in a team. If your team is well-rounded, you have a very high chance of getting the grant. So it's also, you can, if you have a startup which is not less than 5-year-old, and there are some other criteria for a company that you can check in the Meerut website, you can apply for this grant, and it opens twice in a year. Again, in January it's getting open. So please, you don't have much time. December, if you have something in mind, please write to me. I'll share my email ID. KTBI is one of the big partner, and for the past 3 to 4 calls, we have been getting the highest number of applications as well as the highest number of grantees across other incubators. If we compare ourselves with the other incubators, we get the highest grantees for past 2-3 calls because of the kind of mentoring support that we provide them. We do a lot of mock presentation, grant writing workshops, which will give you an idea that what is the committee expecting, so that you can rephrase, you can reframe your presentations accordingly. So funding support, as I said, is 50 lakhs. This is an old slide, but again, the next call, that's 28th call, would open from January, and your idea could be on any field of life science. I've just mentioned, it could be medical, it could be waste management, it could be industrial biotechnology, it could be agriculture, it could be bioinformatics, it could be drugs. What it supports, it basically supports any idea that has a novelty component and has a commercialization potential. It does not support a basic R&D work. If you if you are coming up with a project that has a lot of R&D, exploratory research work involved, then of course BIG is not the platform. I would suggest you that do a couple of preliminary studies, and then when you have gotten good result, you can apply for the scheme saying that yes, my R&D work has been done. This is my supporting preliminary studies or supporting evidence that I have got so far. Now with this, I am more confident that I could accelerate the discovery process, and within 8 months, I'll be developing my proof of concept will be built. So such kind of projects basically BIG looks for. And even again, the catch is here that if a project is above TRL level 3 or 4, if you have developed the proof of concept or in the early stage commercialization stage, and you need funds for validation or for market launch or expanding your team, then again BIG is not the platform, because there are other schemes which I'll be discussing very shortly. So you don't have to fill any hard copy, you just have to go to the BIRAC website, register, and then once you register, within 24 hours, you'll get a login ID and password. With that, you can log in and you can apply it. Evaluation criteria, as I said, these are the various parameters based on which your application will be evaluated. Unmet need, how important is the idea that you proposed, whether there is a different value proposition or not, how different is the solution from the similar products that is there in the market, that is also carries 20 marks. Technical viability, whatever you're proposing is actually able or not in 18 months, because I've seen many projects where applicants become over enthusiastic and they say that I'm going to do XYZ, this and this in 18 months, which is impossible. It looks like over ambitious project and which BIRAC doesn't support. So please keep in mind that it's for a grant period of 18 months. So your milestones and deliverables should be very clear cut and should be very sharp. Team strength is what is, as I said, I've been saying again and again, team is very important, and a business perspective. Now, this this program is beautifully fashioned in a way that BIRAC have partnered with various incubators for running this program, which are called the big partners, and KTBA is one of the big partner who will help you not only to get this application, to get this grant, to frame a very competing proposal, but also once you get the grant, they will help you in product development. They will connect you to, or they will have a lot of mentoring sessions. Every month we do conduct a mentoring session with grantees. We connect them to technical experts, we connect them to investors. We help you in support in patent filing. We get it again. If you want to license your project to any industry partner, maybe exclusive, maybe non-exclusive, we again have a technology transfer office at KTBI who will help you in getting your technology transfer to various stakeholders. So that's kind of thing that you get in this 18 months. It's not just 50 lakhs money. Selection process is very transparent. First round is eligibility check. You apply. Once the eligibility check is done, we give it to 5 reviewers. And if 5 reviewers, they have to score. If your average score is above the cutoff score that is decided by BIRAC, you'll be called for a presentation. And that's a final presentation. Is the whole slide, but I will just want to say that the two TP and ESC presentation has been merged. So there's only one presentation, and based on again the scoring by the panel members and the cutoff score decided by BIRAC, the final list comes up and you get it. So entire thing happens in a maximum 30 to not I would say 2, 3, 4 months it takes for you to get the result from the day you apply it online. So there's another, since KTBI is the regional center of BIRAC to promote innovation in East and Northeast, we are the mentor incubators for all the nascent incubators. We have been selected by BIRAC because of the experience and expertise that we have for over a decade. So we are also running this big Northeast special call where only innovators from Northeast can apply for it. And Believe me, previously Bharat used to have 1 or 2 applications coming from Northeast, but the kind when we went there, we did a lot of awareness program, we did a lot of grant writing workshops, and we could see there is a difference. People started applying, and the last call there were 110 proposals which were received, and the proposals were so good that we really had a very hard time to pick up the best, because there was a mandate that we only could support 10, so that's a very hard time. But believe me, I after that kind of experience, I understood that ideas and entrepreneurs can be found anywhere. There's no geographical constraint. There's not only startup buzz is there in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi, and Mumbai, but if you come to Orissa, if you come to this part of the country, you'll see that you will see tons of good ideas from the Northeast, from eastern region of the India. And so this kind of the epicenter of, I would say, the startup is deviating now. You'll find it everywhere. It's not only localized at a particular region. Similarly, there's a Prayas scheme. This is also a prototype grant, which is by the Department of Science and Technology, where you get a grant of up to 10 lakhs for prototype development for 18 months, along with the technical guidance, business mentorship, and IP facilitation support. So it's not that that at one place, if you get a kind of rejection, please don't be disheartened. There are other schemes also which you can avail. For example, if you are not selected in BIG's scheme, maybe the comments were so good that you can again revise and reapply. That's always our government of India. They always, any schemes, they always support resubmission of application, provided that you incorporate those suggestions by the reviewers. But if you have done that, you can again reapply and see. If not, you can apply in other programs. For example, you can apply for Prayas and BIG simultaneous and see that where you can you can try your luck. Similarly, this is a TIDE scheme that is also a prototype support, which is by the meaty government of India, and you get a financial grant of up to again 7 lakhs to get. And there is two kind of things. One is a Nidhi TIDE EAR, that's a fellowship, and a TIDE grant. So both the things are available. KTVA is again the implementing partner of TIDE scheme. So if you are interested, basically your project should have a ICT component to it. If you have, please apply for it. Now the call is open for both the Prayas and for the TIDE scheme. Again, in January, the BIG call will be open, so you can apply multiple basis. It's not that if you get TIDE, you are not eligible for applying for BIG. You can have multiple grants simultaneously, but again, please remember, it could not be for the same objectives. It could be for the same project, but different objectives. Okay, like for example, you can say that for the TIDE, I'm developing on this sensor part. Now for developing this kind of aspect, for the design of this particular aspect of my product, I'm applying for Prayas grant. So similarly, things for the same project, you can get this support from different programs, but again, for different objectives. Similarly, the MSME also scheme, they have also a support for up to 15 lakhs, you can get it. So this is an interesting program. The Atmanirbhar Bharat Arise ANIC program is a national initiative to promote research and innovation, collaboration with state ministries. The good thing is that here, once your product is developed, the ministries, the government department will become your potential first buyers. And support of 50 lakhs is given, which is released in basically in 3 tranches. Similarly, there's a PRISM grant of DSRI called the Promoting Innovation Individual Startups MSME PRISM. There are various categories to see that where best suits you, which category best suits you. So sectors, again, very broad. It could be healthcare, it could be waste to wealth, clean energy, or industrial water and sewage management. These are various schemes. Please apply if this is again a Startup India schemes. Now, once a prototype is developed, now you have to move forward to commercialization. You have to get more funding for the validation to bring it more closer to the market. Let's see. So there are, because of shortage of time, I'm not going into detail of it. But of course, if you are interested for any of the scheme, please do write to me. You can check in the website, individual website, all details are there. You can please, one important thing I want to state here is that the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs do is that they don't read the guidelines for any particular program. As I said, that just like a game, every game has a different rules and regulations. Similarly, every funding has a different guidelines. So please get the guidelines. You get it from the website. You can get it from the incubator. Read it, go through it, understand what is the mandate, what is the vision of the particular program, and then try to tailor make your application. That will definitely give you an edge rather than just applying abruptly, understanding that what is actually the expectations from this particular program. So SIBRI is, again, you can avail a grant of up to 50 lakhs if you're saying it's 100% grant money. If it is your project cost is above 50 lakhs, then 50% of the cost will be borne by BIRAC, 50% would be by your industry partner. So that's kind of thing that you get. Similarly, PIPP is also there. And again, just I guess in this January or December end, there was the last date. So this is again in part, there are 3 categories. First category is that in partnership with industries, and second is partnership with industry for a global competitive market. Then again is a partnership for only for phase 3 and clinical trials or field trials you want to do. So you have to see that which category best suits in, and then you apply. Basically, I say that once you develop a proof of concept up for by getting BIG grant or Prayas grant, then you should go move ahead for BIPP and SIBRI, these schemes of the BIRAC. Similarly, this is also again a scheme which is basically its product commercialization, and you get a support of almost 1 crore. Then there are a lot of seed funding. This is basically to close the gap between your proof of concept and your investment pitching. Because once the proof of concept is developed, but to bring it to a level where you can pitch it to investors, you need more funds. So this is where these seed funding support comes in. KTBI is a seed partner of various schemes of seed funding, be it BIRAC has a seed funding, NSTDB has a seed funding, TIDE has a, BT has a different seed funding, DST has seed funding, and KTBI is a partner of all the seed funds across different ministries. So please apply. Even the seed fund now, the Startup India has floated, which is open throughout the year. You can apply it. Only the 2 things that is important is that the startup should not be more than 2 years old and should not have raised more than 10 lakhs of grant money. If that is the case, you can apply for the Startup India Seed Fund. Please go to Startup India Seed Fund website and you can see. And you also can apply if you have a wonderful idea and you want to avail the seed funding support from KTBI. Please write to us. We'll definitely consider your case. Similarly, LEAF Fund, that is equity-based funding. You get the support of up to 1 crore, but basically it is more of a commercialization grant because it's equity-based, and also we generally consider startups who have a co-investment kind of commitment from investors. That gives a credibility to the incubator, to the funding agency, that is, it's not only the government support, but the investors also, they're putting their money at stake for this particular product. And for the entrepreneurs also, it becomes easy that to reach out to investors. You can say that, yes, we have also raised money. The government is also putting money in this kind of idea. So that kind of gives your credibility, to the investors that, yes, this idea will work because government is also supporting them. So when there's ACE fund, that is for commercialization funding is, there's no cap up to 7 crores. You can, it's a need-based kind of thing. Based on your requirement, you can ask for the funding. Similarly, NS, as I said, all these ministries, they have their own seed support system. NSTB, TDB, DST seed support system. So please write to us. We have this scheme open throughout the year, so we can help you and see when you best suit in and support you. So it's not only this is one kind of program where basically for social impact, for social entrepreneurs who really maybe their innovation is not that kind of biotech driven or deep tech science, but it has a social relevance. Such kind of programs and grant is also there. One was the invent program where up to support of 25 lakhs was given for social entrepreneurs. Now there's also schemes. Very briefly, I'll tell because I'm running out of time. So there are schemes only for faculty members, because I've seen that many faculties, they have a very good idea, but they are somewhere not very comfortable with forming a startup or forming a business. They are not keen in that. For that, government has come up with a particular many schemes where you can apply for it. Once you have developed the proof of concept, you'll be given a chance to either spin off as a company, or you can go for a technology transfer and licensing. So let's see, one is the PACE program. This is basically for faculty researchers who have some good idea, commercialization idea, but they're not that much keen to form your own startup and take it to market. So the two schemes, that is the AIR scheme and the CRS scheme. AIR scheme is just like the BIG scheme, where duration up to 24 months is given, the support of 50 lakhs is given. CRS scheme is more of a later stage, and you need to have an industry partner for the contract research scheme. Similarly, this also the SERB. This is I'm sure many faculties must be aware of it. It's a startup research grant. If you're a young faculty to a new university and you have not raised any kind of grant money from DBT or DST, it's the first kind of research project that you are putting, then this is the best grant. You can apply for it. And depending, is the research grant of 30 lakhs would be given, and it's a one-time career grant. So the first grant, if you have raised any kind of other DBT project or DST project, you cannot apply for it. But if you have applied for, you have already got a SRG grant, and you want to apply for more grant, then Supra scheme, all these schemes are available. CRG scheme is also there. Please go to the SRP website and you can see all the details. So I said that there are lot of funds, opportunities for social innovation, also for setting up a women technology park, for a lot of programs are there, accelerator programs for agri innovators, for biotech innovators. We do a lot of accelerator programs. Just recently we've been doing one. So please, I would say, for any entrepreneurs who really want to are developing any idea or want to pursue an entrepreneurial journey, please do attend these accelerator programs. That gives you a very good idea about what are the things that you have to keep in mind when you're thinking about business, when you're thinking about commercialization. And also, generally, accelerator programs, they culminate with a demo day. So where you pitch in front of investors, and at that point of time, also, if an investor sees a potential in your idea, they would also put their money in your venture. Now there's a scheme of Spurti scheme. This is basically for setting up manufacturing unit for traditional industries. It's very good scheme. Not many people are aware of it. Again, KTBI is the implementing partner of the scheme of MSME called the Spurti scheme. So here, if you know a cluster of people who are working on a particular kind of product, for example, they are making a bamboo, or they are cultivating mushroom, or somebody is making weaving a handloom, then these cluster of people, they can, with the help of NGO, they can apply for this Spurti scheme, where up to 5 crores will be given. It's just a 10% money you have to put. The rest of the money government MSME is going to put in your developing this industry, putting up the manufacturing unit and developing it. It's basically for cluster regeneration of traditional industries. That's the mandate. So there are various categories. For example, you can apply for khadi, for coir industries, for textile, for paper, hand paper, or for chemical industry, or you can put up an agri-food processing industry, forest-based industry. You just have to have a cluster of people, 200 people or maximum 200 people. But if you have a cluster of 100 people also would do. You can show to government that yes, we have 100 people or 50 to 100 people are working on this particular mushroom cultivation. Now we want to expand the business, and we are coming up with this Spurti project. So this is the budget. There is again for a reserve category. The SEAM scheme had come up. It's a very interesting scheme for Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, and you can get a support of 30 lakhs for a period of 3 years. So this is a snapshot of people who has gotten this, had come to KTBI with just an idea, maybe with not only with the idea, just with the mindset that they wanted to plunge into this entrepreneurial world. We helped them, we mentored them, helped them to get a fellowship grant, and then they got BIG grant, moved forward to SIBRI, BIPP, raised money, lot of accelerator program, raised a lot of investment money, and they have now their name carved in the startup ecosystem. What is the role of the incubator? They again helping them pitch in the right direction, because it's just not the normal way of pitching. When it comes to business pitching, your tone needs to be different. The ingredients that is put in the slide has to be different. So the incubator will train you, will mentor you, will connect you to the right mentors and experts to help you to build a team, so that your chance of winning is always high. So I'll stop here. This is my email ID. So if you have any kind of idea, if you wish to discuss, you may reach out to me. I'll be happy to take it further. So I'll stop here. If you have any questions, you can go ahead.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really a very wonderful job in actually summarizing most of the grants here on this platform in such a short time. And it is really helpful. And the best thing you spoke about is what is the role of incubator, how they can support you. It's not just only the expectation of funds from incubators, it's actually a whole 360-degree change they can make to your personality, which will actually eventually help you at different stages. So participants, if you have any questions, you can either post in question and answer section, or you can raise your hand. We will unmute you.
Or else you can just write to me. I have posted my email ID in the chat box. And if you're interested in any particular program and you want us to go through your application or help you in making a very good pitch deck, please write to me. And Dr. Shashwat is always there to support you in every possible way.
Definitely, ma'am.
So one of the best mentors we have come across. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. If any further questions coming up, I will direct it to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Have a great day.
Great day. Thank you, participants. And with this, we are concluding our ongoing program on this lecture series on innovation and entrepreneurship development. And I'm very confident that initial insight of the subject matter has been attributed and conveyed to you in, I think, a good way. And we will definitely host a different program which will actually take you, it will dig you deeper into the subject matter, and keep connected, keep asking from ACIC MIT Meerut Foundation, HTIC IT Madras, and IEEE UP section. Thank you so much. And I'm putting up that attendance and feedback link again. Please fill it up. And if someone misses, they can actually go to our WhatsApp group and you can again fill it up. Thank you so much.